Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Julie Holly. Thanks for being on the show, Julie.
Whitney, thanks so much for having me on your show. We absolutely love it, both my husband and myself.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words and grateful to have you here. Over the past 20 years, Julie fused her passions and backgrounds in real estate and education to help others achieve their dreams. Her upbeat nature, love of learning, teaching, and connecting others lend themselves well to her role as Three Keys Investments VP of Investor Relations. Julie's podcast, Ask Me How I Know, Multifamily Investor Stories of Struggle to Success, provides weekly value to listeners both personally through Monday Mindsets and professionally through candid interviews with industry leaders. Julie, thank you again for your time today. And I know you're going to bring a ton of value to us today. I know, but I want to back up just a little bit. I want to hear your story a little bit about, just getting into this business and why, and then let's, jump into your mission as well. It's pretty significant.
Yeah, the mission is huge, but even the story of how we got into the position of working within the multifamily niche is a really exciting story. I was raised in residential real estate, and I joke that I'm a recovering residential realtor because it is funny, right? Because you have to have a different mindset when you enter into the commercial and especially the multifamily space. And my dad and my grandpa and so many parts of my family are invested, or not invested, but they were practicing in the residential space. And so it was very familiar and comfortable. And I didn't know what to do. So I followed as an adult. So I followed my mom into the teaching world because that's what her profession was. And I just doubled down on college, graduated early, and started teaching in the public school at 22. Let's just make this happen. And then I realized after a few years into that there's more. And I was facing my fears at that moment. And a lot of people have to do that. You decide what kind of life you have. So in my mid-20s, I said, wait a second, I'm not following dad because I'm scared. I'm scared of the feast or famine roller coaster ride that I grew up in. And I don't want to I want to be in that business, but I don't want to experience that. So I ended up facing my fears and said, what's the worst thing that could happen? And I said, the worst thing that could happen is I could lose everything. Okay, I'm a single woman. I there's not too much to lose. I'll still be alive. So as my husband and I, developed we decided to have single family assets. And our mission was to have these assets to serve people that might be on the margins of life. There are always those people that they lost my train of thought there for a second. There are always the people that they're trying to make that transition in life, and maybe they don't look so great on paper, but their heart and their mission, everything about them is going in the right direction, and they need somebody on their side. And we thought, you know what, if we develop a portfolio of houses, then we could be in charge and we can offer that stepping stone and bridge the gap for those people. And it was very much part of like a life mission. And you know what, here's the thing. A lot of times we think that missions have to be unilateral, and it doesn't. It could be, I really believe in full circle. Like if anyone listens to me over time, they hear me say, I'm like Oprah, everyone wins. Like you can win and you can win and you can win. Like, why does anyone have to lose? So we were on this mission, and here I am, I'm managing these properties. So I think a lot of people can resonate with that, owning single family houses, self-managing, and dealing with everything on their own. And granted, it all went smoothly. We had fantastic tenants. Everything was great. But at some point, you realize, okay, the mission is right. Our heart and our mission is in the right spot. But how we're doing this isn't serving our family well. This isn't going to work. And now we do this typical thing that most people in this space do. How do we scale up? How do we invest in a smarter way? And I got to touch on that, Whitney, because I think everybody is looking for a smarter life right now. And how many of us have like what? I have my smartwatch on. I bet you could hold up your smartphone and we probably have a house, right? Like, but are we living lives? Like, so we stepped back and we're looking at how are we investing? How are we living our life? And that's when we entered into multifamily. And I'll just add to that, it's that exchange. Part of that conversation for us was that you have 4 resources in life, but most people only think they have 3, right? Everybody could say, oh yeah, we've got time, energy, money. And everyone's playing this game where they're exchanging their time for money, time and money. And they're throwing their energy in there, right? But they forget that their talent is like crucial part of their life. And as soon as you realize that you have these 4 talents or these 4 resources in your life and you're leveraging them and you're throwing your talent in there, now you're playing, and now that satisfaction comes and the fulfillment, and you can do tremendously more.
That's so interesting. You know,
a little bit our story of how we got into multifamily.
You know, you all had a mission and you had a business as well, but your mission didn't change, but your business model did. So you could be smarter about how you're scaling, like you mentioned. So what's your all's focus right now?
Right now, so we made that transition from, okay, no more single family. We actually got rid of that. And I always say, we didn't have like this huge portfolio of single family. We had enough to realize that wasn't the vehicle for how we should work in the future, right? So I really believe what some people call teacher Julie, you know, just because I go back and forth between in and out of the public school classroom. And so, you know, it's like, you should be able to relate and understand to where people are, to what people are experiencing. And if you're going to be a trailblazer, then you need to chart that path. You need to go cut the trail. So we actually took time to go into trailblaze and to say, well, do we really think that our passive investors should, you know, go through an EQRP? Do we really think they should try infinite banking? Do we really think? So we've actually like gone down very specific paths. What is it like when you passively invest? What's it like when you wire that money to somebody that you watched their webinar and you think you vetted it? Like, so we've really taken a lot of time before transitioning to active to really create a foundation so that we can relate and empathize with our passive investors.
Nice. No, I like that you all, really dove in firsthand. So you understand that process, that you're fixing to take people down as well. No doubt about that will help you all succeed in that mission, just developing those relationships as well. And so, you know, I guess give us, what does Julie do on a day-to-day, in your business as VP of Investor Relations, and how does your superpower just and your mission help just being internet with that?
Oh, I love it. Well, my superpower, if anyone has not already felt it, I hope you feel it. My superpower is always just to bring people together. I think there's so much divisiveness in our world right now, and we have so much common ground. And that is my superpower, is bringing people together, honesty, sincerity, vulnerability. And the vehicle that I do that, I want people to live so that people can live the life of their dreams, the freedom that they crave and long for. Everyone is searching for it. Everybody wants it. That's why our world's kind of crazy right now. Like, everybody's just like crawling the walls, like, where's the freedom? And so I can use multifamily investing to accomplish that, which is really cool. I pointed out to you, Whitney, that if anybody's watching this on YouTube, they'll see it, but our logo is actually a bird cage, and it's an open door and the bird's on top, because nobody wants to be in the cage. Nobody wants to be trapped, and everyone has the opportunity to have that freedom in their life, and it's exciting. So to answer your question now, right, on a day-to-day basis, I'm engaging in, potential investors. I'm reaching out. I create a lot of content out there. Through my podcast that I run, I engage my audience in 2 different ways. And that is, as you can imagine, the passion of it, the mission of having people free means that their minds have to be free and clear. And so I dedicate Mondays to, Monday mindset. Let's just have 10 minutes on how you could, be intentional through the week on clearing your mind. And if you do that every single week and just have an intention, man, in a year, imagine the freedom that your brain can have and your heart and your life. It's amazing. And then on Thursdays, I always interview, industry professionals, which is really super fun and informative, but you always find the story. So creating content is really valuable, but if you're not actually engaging people and talking to people, it's kind of a moot point, right? You don't know the impact that you have unless you're actually picking up the phone or having Zoom calls or engaging through social media. So a large part of what I am doing is just engaging people all day long.
Nice. Well, speak to, and actually, recently we've had numerous people on that's talked about marketing and one guy specifically talked about your, just relating your passion to, your business and how that can be so helpful. I think it was Stace Cassiera, just so the listener knows, it was just a few days ago. But I think you've done the same thing. It's just like relating your mission to your business. And can you? And even in that episode, we spoke to this a little bit. And I think you could even highlight even deeper, how that's helped you in your investor relations, just including your passion into that, and then just also how that's grown your business as well, even through your brand.
As soon as you acknowledge and accept that one of your resources that you're blessed with in life is your talent, I really believe, and this might be a circular way of answering the question, Whitney, so I apologize. I really believe people have this special gift. Everybody has a special uniqueness to them. And I used to scoff at everyone who said, oh, everybody's a snowflake, and I used to think, oh, that's so silly. But as I've gotten older, I realize everyone has something that's so unique and special. And unfortunately, throughout most of our lifetime, we bury that and we tamp it down because what makes us special stands out and it can feel uncomfortable. And so most people, they just want to fit in and they don't want people looking at them. So they end up burying that very thing that is their superpower that they can leverage. And leverage is not a bad thing. Some people hear that and they think, oh, shady business person. No, leverage is using something, for a strength to help others. How you leverage it or how you use what you've leveraged, that's going to show your character. But leveraging in and of itself is a tremendous opportunity. So if people can find that part within them that they have buried and pull it out, and now they start using that, you can't help but be successful. It's something that sets you apart in the world, and people see that, and they see someone that's confident in using that, and they are drawn to that. And then that fulfillment that comes. So for me, speaking very personally, I have a very big personality. I don't know if anyone picks up on that. I didn't know that until a few years ago. And I had that aha moment of like, oh, I have a big personality. And not tamping that personality down, not exaggerating it, but just being comfortable saying, you know what, this is who I am. And as I have done that, and as I have thrown that component of accepting my uniqueness and putting that into practice in my business, I connect with people on a whole different level, and it's helping my business explode.
Helping your business explode. That's awesome. Tell me, how can the listener help do that? I know you've talked about it a bunch, but like, what was the hardest part in figuring that out? Maybe you could tell us that.
You know what? Find your pain point. I don't think it's going to take anyone too long to find that point. And you probably don't have to go back too far. What is making you uncomfortable? You get into a room with people, and what is it that you're trying so hard not to do? For me, for a while, I was trying to just like be quiet. I'm like, shouldn't I be that quiet, sweet girl? That's who I should be. And I was trying to be someone that I was not. So look at who you're trying to be like. Maybe even go back to those formidable years in middle school and look at something even that far back or farther back as to something that you loved. And that will spark. It's really important for people to do this. It will transform anybody's business. It will transform their life. It creates, it's like if you were in the Wizard of Oz, you go from being in black and white to Technicolor. Except now we're past Technicolor. So like you could probably have glitter in there and unicorns and all sorts of things.
Julie, taking a pivot just a little bit,
Sure.
just from your experience in the real estate industry, I'd love to know your opinion, what you expect is going to happen in the next 6 to 12 months.
Ooh, my dad would always say crystal ball moment. He would always tell me I don't have a crystal ball. So I will echo my dad, bless his heart. I've seen economic cycles, and that is a benefit to having been raised in real estate. I think we can all agree that everything that we're experiencing right now is coming in a different way than we expected, but we expected it to come, didn't we? Like, this isn't a big aha surprise, like shocker. Oh, there's something going on with the economy. We've all said, oh, we're in an elongated, cycle. We've all been waiting for it to tip off, and we all wanted it to tip off a little earlier so that we could, start buying up a little bit more. But anyhow, so I like to assume the best of everybody. And I think that from my experience, operators actually had solid business plans, but nobody expected now the House wants to have they're going to elongate the moratorium on evictions. Like, really? I mean, just the fact that passed in the House yesterday is crazy. We'll see when this episode comes out, everybody will know what actually happened. I can't wait to find out what the Senate does, right? But the point being is that nobody could have prepared for that. So even the people that had the best business plan in place could not have prepared for all of the evictions and that moratorium on that. So I think that we're going to see a pinch on that. That's one of my strongest predictions, is that I think we're going to see some operators in a really difficult situation next year, and that will create some opportunities for other people. And I believe I really have a mission behind this. It's odd. I was actually thinking about this in the middle of the night, is that this is an opportunity for passive investors to really step up and help communities out across America. And I hope that anyone out there that is, out there that raises capital, I really hope you hear this and take this to heart, as this is our opportunity to not just, our missions are always right. We want to take money off of Wall Street, not take it. Well, some people want to take it, right? But we want to free that money from Wall Street and put it onto Main Street. This is a really great opportunity for people to do that, not just to serve themselves, but to serve the communities across the country where, if there's an apartment building that is going to be struggling, maybe that's an opportunity for some new owners to take over so that it can be solid and stable and the roof leaks can be fixed and such. So I think it's going to be really interesting and wild. I'll point to Michael Zuber. He was on my podcast very early on. It's a very fascinating episode. And what he said was, he's a very accomplished real estate investor across a lot of different, areas, asset classes. And he said, during this next cycle, multifamily investing is going to hurt. So it'll be an interesting episode to go back and listen to in a year.
Wow. No, we'll have to look him up. That's interesting. And your episode with him, Julie, I believe anyone that's successful in this business, and almost any business, has a high level of self-discipline. How have you gained such a high level of self-discipline?
My strides and my progress came, one, through, self-acceptance and accepting that superpower for what it is. And two, I adore Rod Khleif. He's been I have a lot of people that have been big influences in my life. But he has, just listening to him. I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about how kind he has been and generous to me in my investment journey. And it's been very influential. One of the messages that he states all the time is decide and take massive action. And a lot of us make that decision. And then, as you said, what self-discipline do you have? That defines everybody. So if you really want something, you better go after it, and you better go after it like a racehorse, right? When you don't let anything stop you. If you know what you want, you're going to hit tough times. And when I hit those, I was just telling my daughter, who's we homeschool, and I gave her an assignment. I said, listen, here's the deal, sweetheart. This is going to be challenging to you, And you're going to get to a point to where this is going to be a challenge. Let's avoid the word hard. Okay. Everybody faces hard things. Let's go to challenge, because challenge is a little sweeter, right? And I said, when you get there, you have to self-talk. This is what you're going to say. I can do this. I do challenging things. You might say, I do hard things. So my self-discipline has evolved into a lot of the mindset of, I've been here before, I've done this, and I can do this, and I will do this because this is that important to me. This mission is so much bigger than me, and I am going to follow through. I don't want to look back. Self-discipline can come from going to your future self as well. So a lot of this might sound like woo stuff to people listening, right? But sometimes I'll go, and unfortunately my dad passed away prematurely and just instantly was gone. And that impacted my life. And I looked to, well, what would 70-year-old Julie say? Would 70-year-old Julie really appreciate? So a lot of times we're so busy looking back into our 20s or our teens or our 30s that we're not going, what would my future self look back on? And am I going to be happy with myself? And for me, that's enough to drive me, because I know the future's coming, and I don't want to look back and say, oh, I wish I would have, been courageous enough. I wish I would have just stuck with that. No, you get one chance.
Julie, what's a way that you've recently improved your business that we could apply to our business as well?
I am always looking to improve the business. Always. Ooh, that question came out of left field for me, but I'm trying to think of just one. I've been partnering up strategically. And there are so many. One thing I absolutely love about the multifamily niche compared to, say, residential is I love the people. The people are abundant mindset. They are generous and kind. There are lots of great people that anyone could work with. I have created some alliances, if you will, just to help me grow. I have found people that have offset. Obviously, I believe my strength is working with people and communicating, and I have weaknesses and deficits, and I am looking to people to help teach me in that and doing some trade-offs. So doing some trading and that continual growth, never giving a moment for complacency to set in, but always celebrating, hey, wow, accomplished this, that went really well. And now how do I 10x that, 5x it, 1x it? We don't have to, 10x it. As long as we're just improving it along the way. So I would say the most strategic thing I've done recently is definitely creating those alliances to offset my weaknesses.
So important. I mean, our team, our relationships, it's such a relationship business and team sport, no doubt about it. Can't hammer that home enough. And Julie, what's your best source right now for meeting new investors?
Right now is through social media, of all places. Everyone does, there's always that pain of social media, but I have found social media as a tremendous vehicle to meet potential investors that I can serve well to take them to the life of their dreams.
What platform and how do you do that?
Already. Ooh, platforms. I love all of the platforms, but I do have two favorites. I favor Facebook and I favor LinkedIn, and that's where my avatar is. So you got to go where your people are and find where they are and then learn to speak their dialect.
Nice. No doubt. What's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
Determination. I don't look at anything as a fail. So you know what? Something could go wrong. It's not something will go wrong. It's what are you going to do when it does go sideways? I've had some missteps and what do you do? I had to apologize. I hope everybody does that. Acknowledge your misstep. I mean, hey, it's the elephant in the room. Everyone knows about it. You make a misstep. You say, whoa, I dropped the ball. I did this and I'm sorry. And this is what I'm going to do about it. So, those are just opportunities. And actually, I got to tell everybody the secret is that if you actually acknowledge your missteps and you have a plan behind it, if you're sincere about it and you implement something different, guess what? You just gained a whole lot of credibility. That's a rare thing in today's world. And it's really crucial and important.
You just have to learn to be quick to step out there and admit when you're wrong, right? It's easier to do it right then than it is later. No doubt about it.
You know what? I learned that as a kid, Whitney. I used to be the kid that had a very tender conscience, and I would turn myself in every time. I'm like, man, if I just turn myself in, this is going to go a lot better.
Yeah, we're trying to teach our kids that as well. Julie, how do you like to give back?
I love to serve people. I do a lot of calls with newer investors as they're, going through that growing pain. So I do a lot of, jumping over my own words here, miscommunicator. I spend a lot of time talking with newer investors, and I also write grants. So I love writing, and I have an aptitude for writing. And so I work with a local nonprofit, and through that, I've been able to raise over $20,000 through grants. And the exciting thing is that for anyone in this space, we know $20,000 isn't very much, but what's unique about when you receive grants is that your nonprofit gains credibility, and it helps bring a lot of positive attention. So I love that.
Wow. Well, Julie, I'm grateful for that and how you give back in that way, but also how you gave back to us today. It's been encouraging just to hear your story, starting in residential, but then starting as a teacher, really, and then stepping out and taking that leap, like you talked about. I mean, that's difficult for everyone, I think, at some point or another, most. But you really faced your fear, and appreciate you just talking through that, thinking about what's the worst could happen. And I think I had that same question at one point. Okay, what's the worst that could happen? We can come back and do something else if we have to, right? But ultimately, if we don't try, we're never going to get there. And you figured that out. But you're helping bridge that gap for people, and so they can find their freedom and through engaging their audience, and how you've done that, time, energy, money, and then talents as well. I just appreciate you highlighting those things. How can people get in touch with you and learn more about you?
Well, the best way to reach me is through social media. I do respond to all of those little messages that I receive. So you can find Julie Holly on Facebook, or you can find Julie Holly on LinkedIn. Actually, I think the Julie Holly on Facebook might be Julie Walton Holly, but head to either of those platforms and you can connect with me there. If you want, you can even connect old school way through email, which would be julie@threekeysinvestments.com.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.